Hello and welcome again to the Franchise Everything podcast, where we talk about anything and everything franchising. And today we're joined by Darryn McAuliffe, the CEO of FRANdata Australia. G'day, Darryn.
Glenn, how are you?
Very good, mate. Very good.
Terrific.
We're at the Franchising Expo, of course. So that's all the buzzing you can hear around us. How's your time been at the Expo so far this
weekend? Been very busy. A lot of traffic coming through. A lot of people very interested in what's going on, and it seems like the future's fairly bright for franchising.
Excellent. So, what's your goals here when you come to a franchise expo? Because you're not selling franchises, obviously. So, what are your goals in this sort of marketplace?
I guess two main objectives. Firstly, to create awareness and understanding of how the franchise rating program works and our finance ready programs. Yep. And secondly, that's to those many an increasing number of brands that have participated already, make sure people know who they are to help them with their recruitment aspirations.
And that's good to know, because that pretty much that first one you mentioned there was the reason why I wanted to have this chat with you.
Yeah.
Franchise ratings. So this one we're going to talk about here is all about the franchise ratings, because it's something you've been quite passionate about and really driving for quite some time. Tell us about the franchise rating scale that you've brought into the marketplace. Tell me what it's all about.
Yeah, sure, Glenn. So the franchise rating scale, we've been doing it about 4 years now. And we did it on the back of Franchise or Demand, actually, that we're looking for an independent verification or review of their franchise system to actually recognise that they were doing things well and how they compare to the broader market. So it basically looks across 7 key categories, and it rewards brands with provide good information. And we're looking for brands that are transparent and brands that are doing well and brands that should be a good place for franchisees to join.
And it's a star rating system.
The outcome is a star rating. So we look at 7 individual categories. We give the franchisors feedback on each of those categories, and then we give an overall star rating, which is a lot of people understand the star rating, and 5 stars are highest.
So it's like the energy efficiency ratings and that sort of stuff. There's a similar sort of measure you're sort of going on.
Yeah, we landed on. We thought of a couple of different things a few years ago, but we landed on stars because that seems to be the thing that people understand the easiest. 5 stars is great.
Yep.
4 stars is good, and less is not so good.
So why have them? What's the need? Where did the market need come from that you saw?
So we've got about 1,100 franchise systems in Australia. The greatest challenge that a lot of those franchise systems have, and prospective franchisees and anyone that's involved in the franchise sector, is actually trying to determine out of those 1,100 brands which ones are good, which ones are a quality offering, which ones would be good to work for, and to have a franchise in, which ones are good to lend to. So the franchise rating is designed to actually try and, I guess, provide some better information and guidance in what can be what we would call often a crowded and confused market. So good brands sometimes can find it hard to stand out, or if there's something happens in a particular industry or a particular brand, sometimes there's a bit of collateral damage. So they can point to an independent assessment. So the bottom line is a franchise rating is actually an independent viewpoint on the health of a particular franchise system.
And I see it in action here, and I know it's a big part of your role here at a franchise expo. Brands are leveraging it here, aren't they? The ones who have been rated.
Yeah, absolutely. We're delighted to see those brands proud of achieving that rating, that independent assessment of the health of the brand and how good it would be to be a franchise in that brand. They've got their plaques up on their booths, and that, I think, attracts some attention. They're using the logo on their marketing collateral. We know that prospective franchisees are asking brands, have they been rated independently? So it's good to see those brands, that have taken the lead in being independently assessed, getting some benefit from it.
Yeah, I'm a big supporter of it, and I've been for a number of years, and we've chatted many times about it. And I think a franchising expo that we're at right now is really the quintessential place where you see it in action, like practically in action. So you've got maybe 100 brands, 80 to 100 brands in here, and there's only a very select few who have actually got a little logo up saying they've been independently rated under the star rating system.
There would be actually less than 10% at this expo that have got it. So we'd like to think, and we're hearing back from them, they're enjoying a really good advantage from that. But we know from talking to the attendees at the expo that by the time they go around to tens and tens of booths, and they get all the recruitment information, hear the story, they get a bit confused, and sometimes they look at all those things and say, well, what really is the difference?
So when it comes to rating brands, which obviously takes a bit of time, what is the thing that drives a high rating? What are the factors that you see the standouts that makes a brand a higher number of stars than otherwise?
brands that achieve high ratings, they've got a couple of things in common. The concept is validated, it's strong. They are quick to give us good information, and they're open with that information. They give us deep insights. They give us access to different people in the network, and the data actually supports the rating. So it's an important point, Glenn, that it's actually data-driven, and there's a scoring model that's quite rigid that determines what the rating is. So it's not subjective.
Yes. So it's not
you actually need to back it up with numbers and data.
Yeah. So with that, but in practical terms, how does it work? So can you talk me through how it works, and how do you come at these? Is there what? I mean, I know there's obviously a deeper criteria to it.
Yeah.
How does the process work?
So high level, when we start a ratings program, we ask the franchisor to send us 5 years disclosure documents, last 2 or 3 years on the franchisor's financial position, their recruitment pack, examples of their process for recruiting franchisees, how they decide on territories and networks, what have you, how they support them. So a lot of things. So it's a combination of documents initially that we review, and then some on-site interviews where we ask people. And we don't like to tell them the questions we're going to ask, because we actually don't want a prepared answer. We much prefer them to say, this is the process map for how we do that. This is how we do that. This is why we changed that. This is something we're working on. And it's a really important point to make, Glenn, that we don't expect perfect here. And a brand that says, we actually think we could be better at this, here's our action plan, that actually scores quite highly. That's kind of that self-awareness that we're always trying to improve and always listening to our franchisees to make things better.
So ultimately, we just want brands to keep improving as a business opportunity for people who are investing in those networks.
Yeah, it's that old adage, success is a journey, not a destination. So there's nothing worse than a brand thinking they've got it sorted because they're already in a good shape. So it's a feature of brands we've been renewing annually that maintain their 5-star rating. And that's why we do it every year, because things change, obviously, all sorts of external conditions. But these brands are always listening and changing and responding to changing consumer needs, feedback from their franchisees, what their best franchisees are doing, what their best areas and territories are doing. So they never stop investing.
I bet you make a few CFOs a bit nervous when you're arriving with with no idea what you're going to be asked. And
look, the CFOs are pretty good. I mean, and they're again, those with good systems are generally pretty keen to share it.
Yes.
Sometimes we do go up a few dry gullies, right? So not all brands measure up. And sometimes when brands ask the information we want, they say we're not going to go through it. And timing.
So how does that work then? If a brand is not measuring up very well, what happens then?
Well, we give them their ratings. So there's a lot of 4 and 5-star ratings out there, but there's also quite a few 3 stars that people have chosen not to publish. And 3 stars actually fine. It's sound.
So they can get it assessed, but they don't necessarily have to publish if they don't want to.
The franchisor controls the distribution of that rating. So with a great rating, that they like to get it out there, as you'd expect, because it's good news. If there's gaps or development needs, then sometimes I say, can we come back and get that re-rated in 3 months? 100%. And it may well be that they thought everything was fine and it is. We just haven't got the data or the evidence to prove it. So something like a franchisee survey. How happy are our franchisees? They say they're very happy, but we can't actually give you any proof. What if we do an internal survey or get a good external survey provider to do it? Would you review the rating? Absolutely, when we've got the proof, because it's proof-driven.
Yeah, of course. So in use of it, so we know how it all happens and everything now, but sorry, aren't you choking on something?
No, just...
you sound like you're getting a bit dry with all the air conditioning.
Yeah. Talking too much, Lynn.
It is. That's what expos are like. Yeah, imagine that. So the use of them. Practical use of these things. So who's using them? Who gets the most value out of it? So in your conversation, because you're obviously coming across a lot of having conversations where people are leveraging this information. Who's leveraging the information?
Well, and that's why we're at the expos, right? So prospective franchisees are the biggest users because they are trying to compare franchise brands, and they are all getting the recruitment brochures. They're all getting the story, and there's some great stories and many great brands here, but they can't all show that independent assessment. So a prospective franchisee and their advisors, which is really important that they get well advised going in, love to see that a brand has put themselves through an independent review. So prospective franchisees, number one user. The other user of them is actually the franchise brand itself, because they welcome that feedback. But they think they're going well, and many of them are going very well, but they like to actually hear that from someone like us that looks at a lot of franchise brands, that those processes and systems actually compare pretty well. So they're ahead, or occasionally they're a fair bit behind. Everything might be fine, but others are doing it better. So we share a bit of best practice with them on the way through. So they find that quite useful.
No, it's good to see that there's other uses out of it than just purely just that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That, I suppose, superficial measure that appeals at the front with the stars, but there's some other deeper information and learnings, I suppose. There's a lot of learnings for brands out of it. Are many brands surprised about what you come across sometimes, or really take stuff away from it?
They're often pleasantly surprised, because we're not trying to mark brands down. We're trying to confirm brands are doing the right thing. So I'd have to say that there's quite a few brands that have been pleasantly surprised with their outcome, because they're actually doing it very well. And more importantly, they're not doing it perfect. We don't expect anyone to be perfect. But those things that they identify for improvement, that's a sign of a quality system. So some of them think we've got a bit of a shortness in a particular area, a bit of a deficiency, but they've got a very well-developed action plan and they're well progressed with it. Well, we mark them highly for that, because we know where that's going to end up.
So that's all the detail. With the future, what does the future look like with these ratings and their overall place in the market, do you think, with a crystal ball?
Yeah, well, we're very kind of relaxed about the future because they're growing quickly, right? So the demand is coming in. We're getting at least a new brand a month coming in wanting to be rated. We're renewing the existing brands once they've got it, that they don't let it go, or very rarely. And more people are asking for them. So, people are coming through. Who's your latest list? Who's your latest list of rated brands?
Person to be rated, yeah.
People coming up to the expo. Or who else have you rated in the last 12 months? Who's here?
Are people asking by niche, possibly? Like
industry sometimes. Niche, yeah. So we ask them what industry, because there's sort of approaching 50 brands rated now. So it's interesting to know what type of industry they're in. But some people are just looking for, who are the high-rated brands, and then they work out which of those they might be interested in. Some are interested in who's the highest-rated brand in a particular industry.
Excellent. Well, thanks for
thanks
for telling us all about franchise ratings. I know it's been bubbling away for a few years now and seems to really get some traction in the market, Darryn. So thanks for explaining it, detail.
Thank you, Glenn. Franchise buyer.
Thanks for joining us.